So I'm sitting outside the Lazy E, and instead of doing it from my trailer, I'm gonna do this from my truck because my trailer is rocking in the wind. It is so windy. I came this direction to escape the wind, but I brought it with me. And turns out I didn't really come to escape the wind, but I was hoping for it. I needed to bring a broodmare home to Oklahoma, and I wanted to go to Double X Equine to let Don Lee look at moves because, I love my vets that I typically use, but I don't know, I appreciate a really good second opinion. And he should probably be my first opinion, to be honest with you. He's so freaking good at his job, but he's a little drive, so it's about 5 hours, and Moose is never really, like, after a run and stuff, his back, palpates sore, but, like, as soon as Kim would adjust him, his back really wasn't going to be very sore. Like, he could palpate it, and he never gave after Kim would adjust him, and I would always get 3 or 4 runs out of him, and then after 3 or 4 runs, like, his back would get sore, his thighs would get sore, his hamstrings, his whirl, like, everything would be so sore. And so I thought, like, we've injected hocks and stifles, we've x-rayed, let me just go get a second opinion, because my PMF machine just shows insane amounts of inflammation always, but there's this one place in his back that it would always pulse really, really hard. But anytime I would go have a lameness exam done, which I've had 3 in the last 90 days, I never really gave in his back. And so Tuesday night I took him to a jackpot, and the first run, he kind of snapped around his second barrel, and the first run was in this class called the Blown Barrel Horse Incentive in this association. It's basically you pay $10, you run. It's an expensive exhibition. There's no payout, but it's the very first class, and it was during the weeknight. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to run in that, carry my time over to the open so I don't have to be here all night. Like, basically, I'll just pay an extra $10 to run early and leave. Well, I ran, and he turns the second barrel, and a dirt clod flies up and hits me in the eye. And, like, I wasn't riding great anyways. I was a little bit tired, a little bit off. Had an insanely busy, stressful day, momming. My husband was out of town, taking care of horses, clients. I had visitors, like, all the things. So this dirt clod hits me in the eye. I get to the third barrel, go to the horn too early, and I hit the third barrel. And I'm mad because I'm like, I carried my time over. Like, I'm just fixing to waste a $40 entry fee because I hit this stupid barrel because I couldn't see or I had a freaking concussion, and I wasn't riding great anyways. And so I thought, you know what? If they'll let me run in the open, I'm going to do that. So they would. That's the rule. If you hit a barrel in that class, you can always try again in the open. So that meant I had to stay until the whole open was over. And I ran again, and he fell apart. And I mean, like, mentally fell apart. Physically, not so much, but mentally, he was just like, And so I thought, well, I usually run him on a little bit of calmer, and turns out that had definitely exited his system by the time I got to run him. So I thought maybe that's what it was, and I thought, you know what, like, you don't have to make 2 runs in a row ever. And I was a little upset, and I was like, I'm going to have to correct this. Like, I usually do my corrections at home, but I could not correct them at home because my ground is terrible. It's blown away. So we had an after. I got 4 exhibitions after, basically ran him up to every barrel, made him stop, stand flat-footed, did a whole lot of backing up, did a whole lot of, like, this is where we slow down. This is where you turn. This is where you set a hawk. Like, really, like, basic stuff. Nothing terrible, but I did make him use himself because he was kind of, like, wanting to take the out and just run a million miles an hour, but never really use himself. So I made him use himself. Well, he was extremely sore. The next day he was so sore, and he looked like he lost 150 pounds, backbone sticking up. And he is not a heavy set horse. Like, he's always been a hard keeper. We fight EPM and ulcers with him constantly. It's constant while I'm hauling. If I, get off of him, he'll gain weight and he looks great. You make 3 runs, falls apart. Like, his whole body just bleh. So he did not look like he could lose any weight. He already was the thinnest horse on the place. And then he looked terrible. So I thought, when I go to Oklahoma, like, I'm going to Don Lee's because it's North Texas. So I thought I can get him in. Well, Don's like, is he always barefoot? And I'm like, he is, because he's kind of a pain in the butt to do. Like, he really doesn't want to stand on the stand. It's like he acts super uncomfortable physically. So I just kind of like, I have nothing but sand. I just kick him out in the sand lot, and whatever his feet are, they are. Like, we trim them every now and then. But to be honest with you, like, his feet look like crap because he is sore. He doesn't like to stand on the stand. It's hard for the farrier. I don't want to drug him to do it every time. Like, he doesn't make very many runs, maybe 2 a month, right? So we x-ray his feet. He's like, oh, he might be negative in his feet. Negative angles in the hind end will make them sore. Well, he's like, I don't even know, like 1.5 degrees, which basically is a trim. It's trimming the toe back. You get 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees. So he was like, I don't know. I don't think that's it. So we blocked him. Still off. Typically, when you block a horse, for those of you who don't know, it's a nerve block. If you make it to where they can't feel the thing that's hurting, typically they go sound. No pain, there's sound. Well, he was not sound with no pain in his feet. So then we moved up. You move from the ground and then you move up. Well, we just had his hocks injected 3 months ago. They should be fine. We had just had his stifles injected 3 weeks ago. We x-rayed. They're fine. Very clean x-rays. So he's like feeling around and he's like, oh, Courtney, his legs are pretty sound, but his back hurts. And I knew what that meant because Spencer's legs were as sound as it got, but his back hurt. So I kind of took a deep breath, and they went and they x-rayed, and I'm thinking it's his pelvis. Like, I'm like, oh man, he's fractured his pelvis or something, And because his pelvis sticks up and it's all wonky, and he's like, nah, I think he just hit a gate at some point in time or something and like knocked a hip down. It's normal. A lot of horses have it. Keep your chiro sessions up. They'll probably help a whole bunch, but like, it just is what it is. And Spencer had that too. He also had that. But when he freaking got up from colic surgery, it had fixed itself. So, not colic surgery, sorry, kissing spine surgery, it had fixed itself. So something about being laid down and getting up, it kind of like made things right. I think they lay him down, they roll him over. Everything's really like, their muscles are really lax because of the anesthesia, and maybe it put it back. Or maybe what happens is they're not compensating and traveling all wonky because their back hurts, and they start using themselves correctly. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just something that I've noticed track horses have and horses with kissing spine have. So there's that. And we x-ray his back, and sure enough, he has 3 spots, which I didn't think looked terrible, but considering that Spencer had like 7 or 8 spots, overlaps, possible fracture, like at this point, 3 spots looked great to me. I'm like, 3 spots? Like, that would cause a problem? And they're like, yeah, Courtney, that would cause a problem. And they're ugly. Like, they have lesions, and it's not nice. So Moves has kissing spine. And it has probably been causing the stress that is causing his EPM flare-ups and his ulcer flare-ups. Because if you have EPM, a lot of times you have ulcers. And then it all has to do with their immune system, which has to do with their gut health, which has to do with everything. So I've been treating gut health, PEMF. Treating anxiety, not getting anywhere. Horse still looks like crap. The chiropractic definitely has helped a whole bunch, but not held as long as I would like at $175 a session. Worth every penny, but really should hold better if your horse is like not have something else going on, which he did. So I'm a little bit sad because I know that there's a good chance. We injected SI Whirl, which is a bursa. They call it Whirlbone. It's a bursa. SI Whirlbone bursa. What else? Back. We gave Osphos. I think that's how you say it. Basically, it depletes calcification in the bones. We're hoping that where those lesions are in his kissing spine, maybe we can create just a little bit more space with the Osphos. I ride in a German Martingale every single day. So that's probably helped because I do a lot of top line and core work just because for funsies. But yeah, he's definitely going to have surgery this winter. And I hope very much that the injections help and I can at least, run him every now and then like I do now until then. But if they don't, I'll just kick him out until surgery time. The injections should help quite a bit, but sometimes they don't. So they worked with Spencer for 3 years, but I've had friends that they didn't help at all. So we'll just see. It's really just dependent on the horse. I feel relieved that I have an answer. I feel sad that I'm fixing to have to cough up like $6,000. But Don thought, he's like, I bet that's the reason this horse can't gain weight. And I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. I sure hope so. Because he eats like 3 horses. And it's just, and I've done everything. I've done prebiotics, probiotics, fermented probiotics, like, free choice alfalfa, lots of grain, no grain, EPM super dewormer, all the things. I've done all the things. He still looks like crap. And he's still sore. And his back still hurt. And his SI still hurt. And his stomach still bothered him. And kissing spine's funny like that. It's like, ulcers can cause back pain and hypersensitivity. And also EPM can cause back pain and hypersensitivity. And so can kissing spine. It did with Spencer, and I thought as prevalent as EPM, as kissing spine is right now, and EPM, but like kissing spine for sure is so prevalent. I really thought I would have gotten a diagnosis earlier. But at least it didn't take 3 years and like $7,000 like it did Spencer, because I got Spencer injected enough that I could have paid for 2 surgeries had I known why I was injecting. We were just injecting to get him out of pain. Like, that we would give him time off, and it didn't matter if he had like 6 months off. You run your hand down his back and he would flinch like he had been getting ridden every day. So his quality of life sucked, and it's because his back hurt. And so what they inject their back with is not the same thing that they inject like their hocks with and their stifles. It's not necessarily a lubricant type deal, hyaluronic acid type deal. There is like, I'm sure some sort of like cortisone that goes in as far as like a cortical steroid that goes in to take out inflammation. I think I'm saying that right. But they actually put in like things that help the nerves. Like that injection is basically to deaden the nerves that are there. It's not necessarily the bone on bone that bothers them so much. It's the nerves that are within those processes, whatever, that start pin firing and get inflamed and all that stuff. So those are what you treat. That's another reason, like, they put them on methocarbamol, which is like for like spinal injuries and stuff like that, but it's really for the nerves. So he shouldn't be in pain, but with basically they do like 6 to 8 injections in the back, and they put that medicine in there, and then they just hope it gets where it's supposed to get, I think. I don't think those are guided by ultrasound like SIs are. So sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and if they don't, that's okay. We'll just give them time off. But I would like for them to work so that I can keep him exercised. He's one of those that when he's not exercised, like his muscle just goes, which is probably from the EPM, which is probably from the ulcers, stress, which is probably caused from the kissing spine, which would explain why every time I treat him with ulcers, he looks a little bit better, but not great. Every time I treat him for EPM, he looks a little bit better, but not great. I think this kissing spine has been the root cause of the stress that keeps making him relapse, which makes me sad. But we will get it right. We'll get him fixed. Anyways, that's where my head's at today. I'm just a little bit like sad but relieved but happy that he's going to be okay, but my pocketbook is sad for sure. I'm in Lazy in Guthrie. I'm going to run tonight in the warm-up race at the Barrel Bash, and then run tomorrow in the bigger race here at the Barrel Bash. Be like number 800 something, and I'll have an overnight drive back to Midland because my daughter's birthday is tomorrow. So I'm going to go take a nap because I'm for sure going to need it. Hope you guys have a good weekend.